We will start out with the Administrative Services and Operations Committee. Mr. Jenkins is not present. Dr. Ellis will conduct.
All right. Someone needs to approve the meeting minutes from last time. Administrative Service. Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
First item today is the CIS contract. This will be Ms. Sheila Wallace.
Good evening. So we are asking for your approval. This is an action item for the CIS contract, and it is the agreement that we have every year with CIS. It is for the 25-26 school year. We do serve a few middle schools and high schools. And on behalf of Superintendent Ellis, your approval is requested.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the CIS contract. Do I have a second? Second by Dr. Chapin. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next item is the end of year budget amendment by Ms. Sanders. This is an information item.
Good evening, board members. So the budget amendments for the end of the year are now presented to you all as information only, as they were already approved by your designated superintendent. Let me go to the next item.
Question. Go to the next one, budget resolution, that approval item for the year 2025-26.
The 25-26 budget resolution is also presented on behalf of Dr. Ellis for approval to take to the full board.
Mr. Wheatley here. Motion by Dr. Chapin. I will second the motion. All in favor, say aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next is the National Mural. That's an information item. Yeah. Fellow.
Good evening. So I have the Nashville mural for information only in reference to the conversation that's been had amongst many in our community about putting a mural on the structure of Nashville Elementary Gymnasium. So after doing a little research, and we had several committee members involved from our several team members from central office involved, we did send a letter that it could be a standalone mural. If they were to get the grant, it just gives them permission to start the grant process. And they have paid someone to draw a copy of the mural. Of course, that's copywritten, and we don't know if we're going to get the grant. So there'll be more information on this to come that you will get to view and or approve that at that time. Do y'all have any questions in reference to the Nashville mural?
You explained the board members exactly how that nobody really painting on the building has done.
So due to the fact that we would have to maintain this structure, if it gets painted on and the paint starts coming off and over the years, us maintaining it, repainting it and paying for those expenses that would not be with a grant, depending on the product that's being used and who is working at that time, it can sometimes be a huge expense for the county and or the school district. So with it being a standalone structure that will be mounted onto the surface, that can come down and it'll not damage the surface itself, which is a brick, very large brick area. It'll be a beautiful site if they do get the approval and they do get the grant, but then we actually would be able to maintain and or take it down and get it repainted and put back up in the many years to come. Yes, sir. It's very similar to all that have been approved across the state after getting some advice on moving forward. Yes, right on Main Street. Do you have any questions?
I have a question. Lamb, we probably need to do a roll call for this meeting.
Okay. Mr. Jenkins is absent. Mr. Gray is absent. Ms. Chambers?
Yeah.
I'm here, Mr. Whitfield. Sorry, we do not have a call.
Now we've got the sale of Swift Creek.
This is for information only. Going back to the sale of Swift Creek, due to some zoning or rezoning issues, the gentleman that had won the bid for us and had started the contract process has now decided he does not want to move forward with that. We will have to put the building back up for sale because it will not be rezoned, and he does not want to move forward at this time. So this is just information I'm sharing with the board. We're going to continue with the bid process as we did the first time because he won the bid. We went through all of that process. The second, there was no other bid that came in under him. So we start the process over, and we plan to start that process as soon as possible. And that was for information only. Do you have any questions at this time? $12,500, and hopefully, due to the fact that moving forward, we were asked, they have not requested that money back, but with the manpower and the hours and the months that have gone since they won the bid, we have requested to keep that money. I'm sure we'll have a place to put that for capital. Yes, sir.
Question. The next topic is easement for Swift Creek. This is going to be an approval item by Ms. Miller.
And I am sharing this with you. I think there was an attachment that I placed in the folder for you to view. This is in reference to Mr. Boone has brought this to our attention through the county that the 911 tower that is on the site of Swift Creek, they need a larger easement to get to that. It's in a fenced-in area, but 15-foot plus is what is needed for an easement as we move forward with the sale of Swift Creek. This was in the process before we had started this, but we were waiting to get a little further along in the contract, but now we're starting it over. So this is actually a buffer area around the fence that would help in case the structure as it gets older were to collapse for the safety of all the individuals and given a right of easement for that 911 tower for the county.
We'll entertain a motion to approve the easement with Creek. Motion by Dr. Chambers. I have a second. Thank you. Second by Mr. Whitfield. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passed.
Thank you.
Item is Kelly Services contract. That'll be an approval item from this one.
Good evening again. So the first item that we have terms of a contract for approval is Kelly Services. Also included in the assembly platform for you, the results for the survey that was requested by the board. I can go through these if I need to, if everybody hasn't had a chance to review it. I can tell you it was favorable to continue with Kelly Services. There were 41 participants. We had shared the survey with all principals, only the assistant principals that work closely with Kelly Services, directors if applicable, bookkeepers, and they were mostly satisfied with it. 92.7% were in favor of remaining with Kelly. 7.3% said no. Their biggest concern was level of skill knowledge of the substitutes and the recommendations that they had to improve the services that Kelly provides. They do need to address their tire for the substitutes, screening of quality substitutes, and an approved notification process with substitutes if they cancel for that day. Any questions? With that being said, there is a contract to approve to continue with Kelly Services for the 25-26 school year, and this is an action item.
Question, Ms. Wallace. Thank you, Ms. Wallace, for getting that information together. I will entertain a motion to approve the Kelly Services. Motion by Mr. Whitfield, second by Dr. Chambers. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed likewise. Motion carried.
Okay. The next contract is for global recruitment, and that's where we recruit. We use this vendor to recruit several of our international teachers, and that contract is up for renewal this year. And we currently have, I have my number here. I think we have 56 teachers currently that we have recruited during this process. And there is an initial fee when we do recruit these teachers and a second year fee to cover attorney fees for that second year sponsorship. And this is an action item. This again for the 25-26 school year, and your approval is requested at this time.
In the past, I know we were somewhat involved with providing some place of,
Microphone.
I'm sorry. We were responsible for providing some housing of some sort for some of the teachers that came in from other countries. Are we still involved with that, or what's happening with that?
We've never provided housing. We just help them find housing.
Was there any stipulations on it? Because I know
No, ma'am.
it was up and down with.
It was just courtesy for us trying to make sure they were in good locations and had safe housing.
Good. That's
Mm.
You said the speed you said this upcoming year.
With global recruitment, yes, sir.
You have any trouble with some?
Well, we have had to non-renew. I think last year it was 7. This year, just 1. Other than that, they've been performing nicely.
You entertain a motion to approve the global recruitment contract. Motion by Mr. Whitfield,
second.
second by Dr. Chambers. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carried.
Okay, and the last contract is with Silverman Law. This is completely an immigration law firm, and we've been using them for the past 2 years right now to help us convert J1 visas to H1B visas, which leads to permanent residency for these international teachers. And we are asking that we renew this contract at this time, 25-26 school year with Silverman Law.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the Silverman Law contract.
So moved.
Motion by Dr. Chambers.
Second.
Second by Mr. Whitfield. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Any other comments, committee members would like to make it this time?
Chair Lamb,
I will
Yes,
I
adjourn.
do have a comment. So I do recommend, since the committee did not have a quorum to start, that you go back and approve the 3 items that were approved without a quorum. That would be your
CIS.
meeting minutes, your CIS contract, and then your 25-26 budget
Budget
resolution.
resolution too.
And I think you can do that just in one motion.
All right. I will make a motion that we approve the CIS contract. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Dr. Chavis, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Budget resolution 25-26. Do I have a motion to approve the budget contract?
Was it budget?
That was
contract
information
or
only
minutes?
Budget
anyway.
resolution.
Budget resolution.
Yeah, budget resolution.
Okay. So moved.
Motion by Dr. Chavis.
Second.
Second by Mr. Whitfield, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Any other comments for this?
Was
The
it
last would just be
minutes?
the minutes.
Oh, approval of minute. Okay, I will make a motion to approve the minutes. Committee.
Second.
Second by Dr. Chavis, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. This time, this committee is adjourned. We'll move right along to academic services and accountability. Mr. Bisbee.
All right. All right. So we call the Academic Services Accountability Committee to order. I need a approval of the minutes. First of all, let me make sure we have a quorum there with all of our people. And so we have Bissett here, Washington's present, Lamb's present, Dunton's present, Gray is absent. Okay.
Make
All
a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Jeff White, Jordan driving school contract. That don't look like Jeff.
Mr. White had an emergency to come. All right, so this item is for approval. It is the 25-26 contract for Jordan's Driving School. The fiscal implications have been shared with you, and Superintendent Ellis recommends this item for approval, and the services are paid through state funding.
Any questions? Motion to accept.
So moved.
Second.
Yeah, have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Field trips.
Yes. You are aware that the board must approve all overnight and out-of-state field trips to be consistent with board policy 3320. This is an international field trip to Athens, Greece. It is sponsored by the American Council for International Studies. It will take place February 14th through February the 21st, and 8 students will travel to Athens, Greece. The superintendent requests approval for the approval of this field trip if we don't have any questions, and if we do, we have the principal from the early college here to answer any specific questions that you all may have.
Move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Yeah, it's a nice trip. You end up needing a chaperone. let me know.
That was my recommendation.
Yeah.
I'll get first.
I was just saying, it looks like we're gonna have to do a lottery if you do. I think you got more help than you need.
Probably got some board meeting over there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay, Dr. Mudd. Alternative School Accountability Model.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Every year, the any alternative school in the state of North Carolina has to choose an option for their accountability model. The state provides 3 options, option A, B, and C. That's how they're labeled. I tried to briefly describe them in the assembly minutes there, but basically option A is the same model that all the traditional schools use for school performance grades and calculations. Option B is a modified version, which includes things like what they call student persistence, specifically for alternative schools, which is about how whether or not a student stays enrolled in the school for the entire school year, right? And because a lot of these schools are trying to serve at-risk students and students who may be more likely to drop out or some of those things. And so one of their indicators on option B is the student continue to stay enrolled for the entire school year. Option B also places more weight on growth versus proficiency, unlike option A. And then option C is that the school district makes up their own accountability model that has to be approved by DPI in a very extensive process. Every year that Tar River has been around and they've had the school performance accountability models, our district has selected option B. And so the superintendent is requesting approval to continue with option B.
Move to approve.
Okay, have a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
Have a second. Comments, questions, discussion? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Option B it is. Thank you, sir. And that would be all for this committee. We adjourn.
Okay, this time we will move to the policy committee. Mr. Wheat.
This time I'll do a roll call. Mr. Dutton,
Here.
Mr. Gray, absent, Dr. Washington,
Here.
Mr. Edwards. Here. And I am here. Motion to approve the minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as presented without change.
Second. I have a first and a second from Mr. Dutton and Mr. Edwards. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Weber, I'm going to turn this over to you. These are all for approval.
Correct. Approval on first read. Good evening, board members. We have 37 policies to review tonight. My plan is to read through each and every one of them word for word. So I'm going to do it a little bit different. I mean, normally we do pull them up and scroll through them. What I'm going to do instead is kind of just walk through what the changes are. And then if there are any that any committee members have any particular questions about, we can, of course, pull them up on the screen and go through them, but they're all in assembly. So there are quite a few policies listed as minor changes. Those are updates to legal citations, cross references, no substantive changes to the policies themselves. And they all relate directly to, in many ways, the substantive changes, particularly the changes around your Title IX policies, which I'll jump to next. So in terms of the substantive changes, most of these updates relate to changes in the federal Title IX regulations. So you might feel like you've done this before around this time of year. Those regulations were revised during the previous Biden administration. They were effective August 1st of 2024, and you and other school districts across the state adopted new Title IX policies and involved rescinding a couple policies, adopting some new policies, all to comply with those federal regulations. In January, the Biden regulations were vacated, so they were no longer enforceable, no longer effective. And then with the change in administrations, essentially the new Trump administration has declared it's not going to be proceeding with those new regulations. And we've now gone back to 2020 when the last set of Title IX regulations was in place. So most of the revisions we are presenting to you tonight are designed to revert back to those old Title IX policies that were developed to comply with the 2020 version of the federal Title IX regulations that were in place. And then there are just a few clarifying changes. So what you'll see is like one of your policies has been rescinded, it's replaced with some red lines and some other revisions. In terms of those policy numbers, so the current version of policy 1725, 4035, 7236, that's your Title IX sex discrimination policy, that's being rescinded. So that again was the version you adopted last August. And in its place, we're proposing to reinstate, and this is all coming from NCSBA, the previous version of policy 1725 and also the previous version of policy 1726. Those are your Title IX sexual harassment, prohibited conduct reporting process policy and your grievance process policy. So basically, like a year ago, you had two different policies for reporting and then the grievance process. Back in 2020, after those, you had one combined, it's the opposite. Last year, we went to one combined policy. We're now going back to two separate. So there's one policy for reporting, one policy for the actual grievance complaint process. Couple other policies impacted by Title IX. The proposal is to reinstate the previous version of policy 1710. That is your discrimination and harassment prohibited by federal law policy. And then policy 1720 is your Title IX non-discrimination on the basis of sex policy. And that's again to comply with the 2020 version of the Title IX regs. And again, with a few clarifying changes before moving on to the rest of the policies. Are there any questions about any of that? Okay. So in terms of your other policies, 1310, 4002, that's parental involvement. That just adds a reference to the new Title IX policies to your annual notifications to parents. There's also some updates to references to your bullying policy, 1510, 4200, 7270, school safety. There's some clarifying language in there around principal obligations to inspect school buildings and school property, like playgrounds and equipment, and then to report any potential safety hazards. So those can be remedied. Policy 1735, 4329, 7311. That is your bullying and harassing behavior prohibited policy. That used to just be in your 4000 and 7000 series, which are your student policies and your staff employee policies. So now it's been added to your general board policies, just to underscore the importance of having a reporting and complaint process and investigation process for bullying and harassment complaints. And there's updates to the Title IX policies and then some changes in terminology based on the current, but really just the 2020 version of the Title IX regs. 2302, remote participation in board policies. There's a clarifying change there that during remote meetings held during a state declared state of emergency, that all votes have to be roll call votes. Something to consider for future, you do have flexibility now if you want to expand your ability to meet remotely beyond states of emergency, whether it's a state or local. You remember back in the fall, there was a Court of Appeals case that kind of narrowed a local government unit's ability to meet remotely. The Supreme Court somewhat recently upheld that decision, but without precedential value, which basically gives you your old flexibility back. So that's something that the board is interested in. I can work with Dr. Ellis on proposing changes that would basically take us back to the version you had like last November. But that would give you the ability to meet remotely. You've got like a contract or something, right? A field trip to approve, give you some more flexibility there, and it allows your remote people to count for quorum purposes. Right now, under your policy, remote participants don't count for quorum, but you do have flexibility if we want to go back to the way it used to be. 2342, voting methods. I think we're like a third of the way there. This also includes pretty much the same changes, clarifies that votes during remote meetings during state declared states of emergency must be roll call votes. 3225, that's your technology responsible use policy. There's some language in there about off-premises use of school district issued Wi-Fi hotspots. So the federal E-rate program changed their rules to allow off-site use and then the funding or the discounts to flow with that. So, along with it, boards need to have a policy that requires students or others using district equipment off-site to make sure that they're complying with any acceptable use policies, even if they're not on a school building, campus, or property. 3,400 evaluation of student progress. There's information about grading scales in there for elementary, middle, and high school that aligns with changes to state board policy. There's a new table that lays out different grades other than A through F. For example, there is a new FF grade that can be given to students who do not have a passing grade and also have significant absences, which is defined as missing at least 10% of their classes. You'll see it there. There it is. So now it's all redlined, underlined, and that again is to align with State Board of Education changes in their grad 009. Next, 3420, student promotion and accountability. There's a revised section on credit recovery, and that's also designed to align with some changes in State Board of Education policy requirements having to do with non-elective courses. When those are taken as a credit recovery course, under these changes, the grade in the credit recovery course is factored into the existing incomplete or failed grade on a student's transcript, which results in a new passing grade. It used to be that if you take a credit recovery course, both your failing grade or incomplete grade and the new grade, they both stayed on your transcript. So this basically has you, I think, average them is kind of my understanding of it. And then there's just one grade on the transcript moving forward. There is flexibility. It's not in here now, but if the board doesn't want to consider it, you do have flexibility to, with your elective courses, to add language in here for your elective courses. If a student takes that as a credit recovery course, you have the discretion to either have it replace the existing grade entirely, or something similar to what happens with your non-elective courses where they would be averaged together. That's not addressed in this version. This just addresses the non-elective, in other words, the required courses. And again, that's all just aligning with State Board of Education policy. I think there's also language in there around career development plans somewhere. That was something put in place for statute last year where students have to take a self-assessment, do a portfolio, and identify career pathways. That's been a statutory requirement. That's being copied in here to your board policy. 3620, extracurricular activities and student organizations. There's a section in there about NIL, and that's to align with a State Board of Ed rule that permits NIL agreements with certain conditions and timeframes. Your policy doesn't lay it all out. It just cross-references the State Board rule. That way, if there are changes to the rule, you don't have to come back and change anything in your policy. In terms of like some of those requirements, there are requirements that the agreement is disclosed to school administrators 10 days prior to signing. Students have to complete an NIL education course. There's also a state board requirement that the NIL agreement can't condition compensation on performance. It's to be signed by a parent guardian of under 18. And I thought this was interesting. There's a requirement that the agreement itself states that it will not, student will not hold the school district or any school district employee harmless, essentially a liability. That's probably like a coach isn't playing a kid. Coach for your 4023, pregnant and parenting students and employees. It's been updated for compliance with the current Title IX regulations. 4040 7310, staff student relations was revised to align with the state board rule and around report to the state board for misconduct. Same for 4240 7312. 60 operation of school nutrition services was revised to align with some changes in USDA guidance, the USDA memo. 6330 insurance for student transportation services has language about liability coverage for vehicles that are leased or rented by the district. And then 7130 passenger that just has clarifications around reporting obligations for misconduct.
Anybody have any questions? From the beginning.
Recommendation there is
Okay, we're gonna make a recommendation. These are gonna be set for 30 days, correct? I make a motion that these policies are accepted and set for 30 days, and we will approve on the second board meeting.
yeah, so they would go out of committee, go to the board for approval on first read next Monday, and then sit for 30 days.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right, we have that's motion's passed. Now we need to move to policy code 4318 on the use of wireless communications. And we'll make the recommendation to waive second read on this one. Go ahead. You want to cover this?
Absolutely. Dr. Ellis, do you want to start or do you want me to?
So you're aware that the governor have new legislation concerning this wireless communication. We've already had a policy that probably beats most of that. But what Jason and his group have done is revised our policy based on the new legislation. And what we'd like to do is go ahead and get this one passed because we're going to start school shortly. And we don't want to have to wait for the school board associations for them to look at it, and it's going to be late. It might be October. We'd like to go ahead and have a discussion about this one to get it on the book so we can start letting parents know, because it's going to be different in these schools compared to what we used to do. So Jason, if you can just explain some of this.
Absolutely. Yeah. So this comes from pretty recent legislation that requires boards of education to adopt a wireless communication devices policy. The way the legislation is drafted, basically it sets it as a default that devices are not to be turned on, not to be used, not to be visible. You know, that's kind of the, and that includes a definition of a portable wireless device that includes cell phones, tablets, laptops, gaming devices, a number of different devices that have two-way communication capabilities. For the legislation, it sets a deadline of January 1st for boards to adopt policies. NCPS BOE is planning on releasing a revision to their existing policy. All updates. So you had a policy in place. It's the SBA model policy. It also establishes it school administrators authorize individual student use to where the legislation, the so it is changes were to same policy with the statute. They're just a Initial. See for the
So if I could, this is a lot of wording. What we're trying to do for next year is basically say, you can have these devices, but when you walk through that door, everything's off and out of sight. And they can get cut back on after the day ends when they're dismissed. But when it comes to hallways, lunchrooms, everything's powered off. That's going to be the cleanest way we can do it. In case of an emergency, and I thought about, we did a reunification drill the other day, that would be a time where a teacher could tell students, you may now pull out your devices if you wanted to contact a parent or whatever. Those would be emergencies, but emergency isn't just, I gotta go to the bathroom. So what we're trying to do is just have a one set policy that you can have the smartwatch on and you can tell what we've had to change here. But when they come in the building, they are all day until the student is dismissed. That's what we're trying to do.
I think you're going to get the watches. Does that fall under educate electronic devices with internet capability?
Yep.
Speak into the mic a little bit.
I would be in favor of uniformity, for us to define those parameters and have them be disseminated across the board.
But I would have a question about the transition. That's basically saying for high school.
It'd be for
Thank you.
all. Would have a uniform policy for
K-12.
Okay, because right here it was saying for high school.
Right, those are some
That
examples.
was just some of that.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't have high school bathroom, hallway, changing class
At all.
Speak up a little bit in the mic. People are asking that they
Sure.
can.
So I guess what I'm hearing is everybody's for a uniform policy. I guess the second part of this would be, who are we going to give the authorization to? Are we going to allow the teachers, or is it going to be to the administrators? Who's it going to be delegated? That's the other part. Am I correct in what we need to decide?
It would be. Is this better?
Yes.
Okay,
just said
there you go.
yes in the back. There was.
So that being said, I'm in favor of delegating it to the superintendent.
Yeah, in that case, the change here, the rest of the language, under that 1A, makes sense. We could just say that the superintendent is authorized to establish school rules. And then that last piece there just gives some guidance to your superintendent, at least there has to be supervision.
Yep, and that way it's still uniform as it's disseminated now.
So what I'm hearing, just to be clear, we're doing a uniform. There is no cell phones. They go off as soon as they enter the building and they come on after the end of the day. Is that the uniform policy we're talking about?
Delegation piece, what is educational or what is instruction time and what is considered education?
So they're separate. So this first section 1A, this has to do with what's educational, what's not, right? So who's going to decide that? Who's going to give direction to teachers on that? Should that be the superintendent or school administrators? I'm hearing superintendent because that way you have uniformity with regards to what is educational. A little lower on the second page, I think top of the second page, there's an opportunity to define the instructional day, instructional time. And that's where some districts have created distinctions between their elementary, middle, and high school, and others have just set a uniform. It's the same for everyone, whether that's arrival dismissal or allowing use during passing periods, lunch, recess, that kind of thing.
Well, I agree with Dr. Washington, probably giving it to teachers creates
Oh, yeah.
very little uniformity. But Dr. Ellis, not want to delegate some to the people on the bill.
I think what I'd want to do is meet with principals and we start defining a definition of what these emergencies would be. And then we would have a uniform plan moving forward. We're going to meet with principals on probably Friday. I think we'll meet with them based on your decision tonight to then determine how we move forward, because we got to push this out the next week and a half before students start school.
Section B, I do feel that that might need to be modified by grade, simply because high schoolers, they may be staying after school for sports and then they may need the device after school. So I do think the times,
They'll be
Right
able
there.
to,
Yes.
like at the end of the school day, they'll be able to use their phones.
But
I'm hearing that there's some negativity towards using it during lunch period. Because I will say that as a father, 2 kids, that lunchtime is pretty prevalent. I'm all for shutting that joker down during class periods. I am totally supportive of that. But that lunch period is pretty relevant in my life, but I'm just.
So I don't know how you delineate between what sections. Is it gonna be during class change? Is it gonna be during lunch? Is it gonna be before the school bell rings for them to go to class? I don't know how you do all that.
Well, that's the inch mile theory.
Exactly. So I think if we're gonna do this, we do it. And I don't, what we have now is 6 different rules for a matrix for K through K1. We've got one for 3-5. We've got 1 through 6-9, no, 6-8 and 9-12. All of them have a different description of a cell phone that someone's got. It is getting to the point, it's going to be hard to manage. So when we all got together, we talked about, should we just cold turkey? I don't want to take phones. I don't want to do any of that. But just say, when you're in the building, don't have money. That's the simplest rule. That's probably easier. When I give that, Heather Louise Finch over here, it's easy to put it on a sign. They don't need to be on. You're right.
Well, then it takes any discussion from the kids away from, there's all these pre-lawyers in middle school and high school. It takes them out of the mix. And
All right, so we need a recommendation from committee.
sure.
And it needs to address both of those in one. I'll be glad to make a recommendation. We can vote on it. If it's not, we'll go.
Sure, we'll do it again.
If I can, sorry, really quickly, on smartwatches, I mean, we can add some clarification there. I do know of one district that did that just because it's a little bit more of a unique device. So if you want us to come back with a clarification around watches and what I've typed here, that they can be worn when used as watches, but any other features that allow voice messaging or other data communications have to be turned off, we can do that. And that might actually help, if there's a student discipline issue, to have that additional clarification. So we could always add that in if the committee wants.
Mr. Bishop?
I would kind of echo along with Dean. I think you've got a kid at school that when they're at lunch, that is the time that they need to reach out to their parents. I need a ride, my ride's not here, different changes in schedule or just general communication. I know that's going to be tough, but I would say, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
So I would say, yeah, well, and then I would say they should go to the office and call.
Yeah, that would, my recommendation, mine is too, and I didn't never had a cell phone until I was out of college. We made it work. Kids can make things work. I don't disagree with you. I hate to take that away too, but once you give them a little bit, they take a lot. And then it ends up being,
the kids in lunch.
Yeah.
Time is short. I'm just saying, it's 2025. Technology is there. If they're sitting there eating their lunch, texting mom, dad, whoever, I
don't disagree with you. I'm just
say, let's look when you're present. It may not be a bad time to define when you're in the cafeteria during your lunch period and start. I don't know. You guys can work on it, but I would give it a little bit of time to is important.
It's just hard to manage.
Yeah.
Very hard to manage.
Yeah, it is.
Look at it.
But that'll be something we'll bring up to the principals on Friday. But what we don't want to have, y'all, is cell phone police.
Yes.
Where we constantly go around looking for cell phones and are you on it or you're not on it, you're in the bathroom. When you say something like it shouldn't be visible, it should be visible. Hear it in this discussion. Because what I don't want to do is add something more to them. that's what's happening right now. We're just, this whole cell phone thing, y'all, it's not
Mhm.
just about calling your parent, and it's not. It's about everything else now. And that's why the governor would sign such a bill. It's not because of the, you know,
Another thing too is
Yeah.
I really want teachers and administrators to really be careful. They go to take some of these cell phones and this confiscation.
so we're not gonna force kids to give us phones.
Good.
But if they don't give us their phones, it's gonna be considered insubordination, which is a suspension. So I'm with you. I don't want to take anyone's cell phone. But what the parents gonna have to understand is if they don't and they choose that path, it goes up a level. And that's considered insubordination, which is a level 2, 3. What is, I know someone's back there in Matrix. A level 2 or 3, which is a higher code. So
I just don't want anybody getting hurt over a cell.
I agree with that.
Totally. The bad thing with that, Dean, that goes back to if we cut them off and they're out of sight from beginning to the end, that there shouldn't be any discussion. That's what eliminates all that other. That's what the point.
Oh,
we're
I
making.
totally agree,
Yeah.
but you're
I mean,
going,
I'm with you too. I agree with
yeah,
you.
but you're gonna have somebody that's gonna peel it out. It
Oh,
doesn't
sure.
matter what the rules are. And I just don't want a teacher to end up in a fight over a daggone cell phone.
And we are
Yeah,
gonna
I-
make sure
yeah.
we.
Yeah,
we're gonna
there's
make sure
plenty of,
we
there's
discuss
plenty of
that.
videos and experience in that too. And
Gotcha.
yeah, we don't need all that.
So, committee members, one option, I mean, could be instead of voting to approve a version with specific language, it's just a motion to direct staff, to bring some changes to you at the Monday meeting, which could include, it sounds like there's agreement on delegating to the superintendent the authority to establish parameters around educational use. It does sound like there's still discussion around how to define instructional time. So we could just have two different versions, right? One that separates out high school and then one that has uniformity across elementary, middle, and high school. And just on that smartwatch issue, I didn't hear any objections to having some clarifying language around that. We could just bring those back.
We start school August 12th. Once you get them in the building, I'm telling you, I don't want to have to make an announcement in October. Saying, all right, y'all, here's what we're gonna do now. We can please,
Get it
if
done.
we have to discuss this longer, I really would love to have something now.
And I
I'm
would
in
say,
favor of bell to bell as, with respect to my comment, with respect to high school, if when the bell rings, whether they're in sports or clubs or whatever after school, we're good. So I'm in favor with bell to bell, if that helps the committee. I think we're clear on part 1A.
But define bell to bell. I mean, the bell in elementary school is morning to end, and in high school, it's bell, first period, second period, third period, et cetera. So that could be two different things.
The way-
Beginning bell to the final bell.
Yeah.
that's how I've
Yeah.
seen it in other districts. It's from the first tardy bell to dismissal. And also, that's your default now, is to have uniformity, right? There's no distinction between grade levels right now. The default is devices have to be turned off and put away. Really, again, where there's a distinction between the statute and your current policy, it's that your current policy allows principals to authorize personal use, but you can't do that anymore. So that's really the main difference between your existing policy and what the statute's going to require.
It's gonna be the same at early college.
Everything.
What about folks that go to work during the day?
And they go to school?
So,
But like,
Isn't
work
there some
release.
people who are
Oh, work
working?
release?
Isn't there some folks who are working during school hours? That's totally separate, apart from.
But they're dismissed from school.
Yeah, they're dismissed, so I would think then they need
Okay.
to call someone. that would-
That's considered a dismissal.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah,
very good. I
yeah,
just don't
because
want
it's in
somebody-
their schedule.
Absolutely.
And from my standpoint, if we go for the strongest we can get right now, we could always back up later. But if we go slow, there is no picking up the pace after you after the horses get out of the barn.
I can see what Dean was talking about earlier. I see, instead of coming in the office using the school phone to call, okay, everybody in this room is on football practice. Football practice has been canceled. Everybody take your phones out in this room and text mom, I need a ride. Administrator could do that. They're using the school phone.
Yeah, I mean, if we delegate to the superintendent, he can delegate to whoever he wants.
Mhm.
Can they email parents from a school device?
Not during the day.
Okay.
Any more discussion? Anybody want to try for a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll try one. Vote on, like I said, we can vote on it and jump
Sure.
in if we need to. So for policy 4318, we would have it include language that would delegate authority to the superintendent to establish specific rules for policy, delegate that to other administrators as needed. We would define school day across all school levels as first tardy bell till end of dismissal. And we would include smart watches into two-way or make sure that, I guess, smart watches are included in electronic devices with internet capability. Two-way.
Or the internet capability is cut off.
Right, where it's used as a watch.
All right, we have a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? His motion, we're discussing that we got a first and a second on his motion to delegate to the superintendent and that the use will be from tardy bell to the end of dismissal. And the superintendent can delegate whoever he wants in the building to the rest of it. Is that
Yes.
correct? That includes a smartwatch where they have to have the internet access turned off.
And
Any
the,
other discussion?
and the delegation is around how to define educational use.
All right, I have a motion and a second and all discussion. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed? Sure. All right, well, motion carries. And we didn't make that motion, but we'll make the recommendation to approve on first read and waive the second read. Can I get a second on that?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And to clarify that point, that's to bring it back with the revisions for the full board to consider on first read. Is that right?
Yes, okay. Do I need to do anything else with that?
No, it's good.
All right.
Will we see a written copy of?
Yes, yeah, I can work on that tomorrow so we can have it available and I can work with staff to get that done. There'll just be a few clarifying changes.
To clean that one up.
Yes, so we can say so.
Okay, all right, this motion, that concludes our committee. This committee is adjourned.
Okay, this time we go to student support services and operation.
Good afternoon. At this time, I'd like to call the Student Support Services and Operations Committee meeting to order. We'll start with a roll call. Dr. Washington,
Here.
Mr. Whitfield, Mr. Weeks,
Here,
Mr. Edwards has just stepped out, but we should be back momentarily. To review our agenda, we have 3 action items tonight and 1 for information. And at this time, I'd like to call Ms. Grant. I guess you're really going to do this one. We got chitter chatter contract and nurse, chitter chatter, I'm sorry, and nursing contract.
Yes, sir. Good evening. Yes, ma'am. So the first one for action tonight is the chitter chatter contract, and that is for services for speech therapists to provide speech and language services for our students with disabilities. That is for two different sections. It is for federal funds for our private school children that we have to serve and evaluate, also for our school age services for our pre-K through 13, grade 13. So that is for approval of the contract, and the fiscal implications are included in your packets for that one.
Let me step back for just a moment.
Yes, ma'am.
I do need approval for the minutes. May I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is second, all right, a first and a second, all in favor? Say
Aye.
All opposed? Right now, thank you for your patience.
On to the next one.
Do we want to do this all together, Mr. Chair?
I move to go ahead and approve chitter chatter or make a recommendation to the full board to approve chitter chatter, the chitter chatter contract.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right,
Okay, and the next contract is for Maxim with our one-on-one nursing contract, and this is for students who's are coming. Our lead nurses and our school nurses do work with the students that come in with significant nursing needs. And currently, we do have 3 students in our district who do need one-on-one nurses services to be able to attend school. And that is the contract, and we are seeking on behalf of the superintendent approval of the contract for those.
is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Is there any discussion? Questions?
I got a question. What's the cost for the cost for this nursing personnel thing?
The fiscal implications,
Mhm.
the $200,000.
Now, is that if we get another kid that needs those services, they are covered in that too, or is
Yeah.
this just for the 3 kids that we
That's
have?
just for the 3 right now. Yes, they're LPNs right now. It depends on the level of need that they're going to have. Sometimes they're CNAs, sometimes they're RNs, and sometimes they're LPNs. So if they come in and we determine based on the decision tree that it's a CNA, it might not be, we could encompass them within this amount. It just depends on what the need is. Usually it's an LPN, which doesn't cost as much as an RN. Sometimes our students come in and they need an RN, which the cost would definitely increase if that's the case.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
you're good. So
I'm
the
going
cost,
to have to come back to the board and ask for an amendment to the
okay, so the
contract.
cost we're looking at is for 3 kids.
Are there any other questions or comments? If not, all in favor? Aye.
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 All opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next item is the summer school board conference that was held in Wilmington. And I wanted to do a brief recap on this simply because it was the first year I had the opportunity to attend it. And of course, I value every dollar spent by our taxpayers. So when we invest in these conferences, I feel in all fairness, I should share it with other members of the board. This was my first time attending it, and it's quite different than the fall conferences. The information is front-loaded, heavy, fast, quick, and in a hurry. To be all honest, we don't break up into various breakout rooms. Everybody in the room gets the information. And so going forward, I would strongly recommend that we at least have one of our board members there, but you don't need, it's not a voting delegation type situation. So for a lot of us to go makes no sense, but I do think we should alternate. But it is a lot of information that you do get. And the 2 pieces that I got from it that I think had made of great value is the fact I learned about a fairly new $500,000 lottery repair and replacement. And I wasn't even aware of that. So I immediately called central office. I know y'all got tired of me asking questions, but I wanted to make sure we were using that money. And I was assured we did, because they also indicated if some school districts don't, and it's for every district, it goes back. We don't get to bank it. It has to go back. The other piece was regarding robotics, which had about $80 million scholarship opportunity. But this was the things that I thought made it well worth. However, they did cover topics like the legislature changes in Washington and state laws and rules that were changing. They looked at a lot of things, survival for school board members, which I think would be quite valuable. And then the partnerships in public education and for county level as well as state. But the one thing that I thought, and you can change the slide if you like for me, Mr. Quinn. The highlights that I really thought were most valuable, in addition to the North Carolina Educational Lottery as it relates directly to Nash County. The robotics was very fascinating, and AI is here, whether we like it or not. Next slide. Oh, I didn't really go to jail. If you
Make sure you share that slide.
yeah, but just for Nash County, you're looking at $45.9 million that was impacted by the lottery. And this kind of information I would not have probably been aware of. And I do have a piece I'll bring to the board for their own individual card on this. But also we were aware of about the 41 million that we are looking at our new construction on the southern end. And then, of course, school staffing. And I know it's been a lot of questions throughout the district. I get calls all the time. I don't know if the rest of you do regarding our pre-K. So we had some supplementary money that I was not aware of that actually contributes to that. Next slide. And the robotics. This was exciting. This contraption actually is built by students. It's a lot of funding involved. They actually compete on a national level. And it's not a general like the robotics you see on television where they beat up the other robot and they win. They actually get points for helping the opposite team. If their robot starts to fail, if you can help them find a solution, it counts for credit for you. So it's a very interesting competition. And it has a lot of support from a lot of the community businesses, especially if they're using robotics in some of their industries. So this was a very fascinating project to watch. I don't know if you can hit that little button to make it move at the bottom of the big picture. Yeah, that one. And as he was mentioned, they have wireless access. The kids were able, when they told them they could go wireless in like 3 minutes, he click, 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 and they could do it.
Mentioned to us that we can now hook it up wirelessly. And so in the pinch of
And it's very short, but to see it, my cell phone wouldn't let me record it so much, but it can do a lot of things like throw a ball, go back and pick it up, and it can actually serve you stuff. It's very interesting what they could do. Next slide. And AI, you can click it again. Yeah, they put me in jail. And they were saying students have the capability of playing with this, unlike we probably would. So if they want to give you some false information, you can say, oh yeah, a board member was in jail, got in a wild party situation in Wilmington, which really didn't happen. And then they made me a boxer. And then I was a homeless person. So they're saying we have to be careful. And it's very valuable for the board members to know how our students, who are always 3 steps ahead of us, can actually use this tool to influence negative things or positive things. So we need to kind of be on top of it. I would love the opportunity for the people with the robotics to actually come and do a demonstration for our complete board, because that was really deep and it's a lot of money that our kids could get. And of course, it's always a feather in our cap to be 2 steps ahead in our state in terms of what's next in education. And I thank you all for allowing me to go. I do recommend again that we have representation there. I do plead with you all to please make an effort to go to the fall conference. We also have voting delegates there. So we actually make decisions as to what the state Board of Education is going to lobby for our legislators. So I think we have 4 slots. So we need at least our votes to count. But it's a lot of stuff that's covered that as a board, if we stay in our ivy tower, we cannot work efficiently for our students, because we may think we have the best thing since sliced bread and not know what else is going on across the state. So it was very well worth the money. And I hope we will invest in our kids to go in, and they compete. I think we did real well last year for our art contest. So we need to support our kids that actually enter those contests. And thank you, and that's all I had, and that was for information only. Is there any other items that need to come before our committee this evening? If not, our meeting is adjourned, and thank you.
Are there any other items that needs to come before the board at this time? If not, I will adjourn the committee meeting. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
See you Monday.